Let me now turn to our program for the future.
It isn't something that made me lose confidence in what I'm doing, because my wife understands, and I have children from this size on down, and even in their young age, they understand. I think they would rather have a father or brother or whatever the situation may be who will take a stand in the face of any kind of reaction from narrow-minded people rather than to compromise and later on have to grow up in shame and in disgrace.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the French Connections Thursday edition. Today's date is the 28th day of January 2010. Of course, my name is Darrell Bradford Smith. Great to have you back with me for another important broadcast. Got lots to say today. I got a guest coming up in just a few minutes here with me. We're going to talk a lot of issues, a lot of science issues and some health issues and other things, current events as well as historic events. And that'll be just after this little intro here. Got a lot of things going on. As I've been asking the people over the last few broadcasts to provide me with the scientific side of the scalar weapons, I've got a lot of it. I've been putting it up on the website. Some of it's quite convincing. One of the things that just came back from Thierry Masson here in France on Voltaire.net. It was a great piece talking about all of the anomalies around this most recent attack and I'm calling it an attack, ladies and gentlemen, because I believe it was a most recent attack in Haiti. Haiti is a very mineral-rich country. They have, since the 1970s, been discovering huge deposits of copper, molybdenum, as well as gold. Some of the gold strikes are incredible. Surface mining gold that is just really off the charts with their per ton gram mix, and of course they sit on top of natural gas as well as oil, and they are strategically located, and they're easily beaten back. You don't have to do much for this population by way of spending, and of course killing off a third of them probably will just make the profits soar. You know, these people are monsters. They don't have any feeling for others. They're psychopaths, and that's one of the problems we've got with this world, is that our system promotes psychopathy or psychopaths into leadership positions. You need to have that kind of mindset, that kind of emotional sickness in order to be successful in today's politics. You crush people on the way up. That's how it's done. And of course, you get your Zionist backing, which all you need to do is follow the leader, and everybody in Zionism acts as though they're the only people that matter on the earth. You know, I was watching today with the Geithner interview, where this guy was just, making profits for his ex-boss over at Goldman Sachs. Now, everybody listening to the French Connection knows well that Goldman Sachs is a Rothschild-held concern. But it also has a seat at the Federal Reserve, and so does two of the other banks that received high favor by the Treasury Secretary. And Bernanke worked with him, and Bernanke was also an ex-employee of Goldman Sachs, and so was Paulson. We've been robbed by Zionist Jews and their helpers. And, again, I'm going to make the statement, you don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist, although you have to be Jewish to be a leader in Zionism. That fact can be easily established. Over here in France, we have the same problems. There are all kinds of lies being told today. Of course, for those of you out there who are aware of it, today is the commemoration of the Holocaust. The burnt offering day, the day that the Jews, make offerings to the gods, because, this is what they do. I can't talk about the details of the so-called Holocaust because it would put me at odds with French law. So much for freedom. Instead, I will just tell you that they are bombarding the airwaves and televisions with sympathy stuff, and frankly, it is so over the top that I think more and more people are seeing through it. They've got, of course, here the perennial SWAT stickers on the Jewish cemetery stuff going on here in France. Clearly, somebody ran out last night and said, "Oh, let's have a photo op tomorrow here in this Jewish cemetery," and they just foofed up a couple of SWAT stickers. They don't ever talk about the 100,000 Jews that were in the military structure of Germany, do they? They don't talk about some of the elite generals in Hitler's staff being Jewish. They don't talk about any of those things. So, lots of stuff gets thrown down the memory hole when it comes to these events, and all they're out there to do is pander and sway you emotionally and browbeat you with propaganda. One guy, of course, if you noticed on the front of the website, 91-year-old man claiming that he intentionally snuck into Auschwitz during the war so he could chronicle the horrors. If you believe that one, ladies and gentlemen, I have some beautiful oceanfront property just next to the Everglades I can sell you. Or a bridge in New York, if you like. Nonsense. And, so many of these stories have been proven to be made up. One of the great ones is they built an entire museum around Anne Frank, and they found out that the second half, or the addendum to her famous journal, was written in ballpoint pen, which, for those of you out there with a history background and a science background, will note that the ballpoint pen was not invented until the 1951 period. So Anne Frank was long dead when that stuff was written in her journal. Interesting, that. But that doesn't stop them from building big edifices to these events, and they've done that around the world. And they want everybody to feel like they're the eternal victims, when in fact they own and operate and run most everything that you see around you. We've been through the lists. But anyway, we're not going to go into that any more than just for comment. But I'm going to bring my guest up right now, and her name is Jennifer Lake. Known Jennifer for all my life, and she's been working hard on her own projects, on her own subjects, trying to bring out and expose certain items within the world of science and scientists and how all this stuff is happening. But she knows a lot about a lot of stuff, so we're going to bring her up right now. Jennifer, are you with me?
Hi, Darryl. I'm with you.
Well, yeah, nice to have you back.
Thank you. Nice to be back.
Well, this whole thing with the anthrax recently, I was mentioning to you privately that I noticed heroin addicts across Europe are being poisoned by anthrax, and I thought to myself, holy smokes, where would they get anthrax in their heroin if not by intention? And, I mean, in quantity sufficient to kill you. Now, of course, we all know that anthrax can be found in the environment, but rarely are there amounts sufficient to do you in. Now, I'm wondering how, and heroin being a processed item, not the raw good. When you have the raw good of opium, it's possible that it can come in contact with manure or whatever, or the animal's source of anthrax. But once it's been processed into heroin, it has gone through several stages, and it would be very hard for that to have come from any source that other than it being put there. What do you know about anthrax? You want to give people a little bit of idea of what anthrax is, as far as you've been able to research?
Well, I don't know a whole lot about anthrax. I know that it's a bacterium, and that it's a very tough bacterium. That what we've been told in the process of learning about the anthrax attacks that happened back in 2001 is that the spores stay viable for a fairly long time. They can live 10 years in the environment, they say. So, very, very easy to spread around, because what happens is these little organisms sort of curl up and protect themselves, and then they stay dormant in the environment until they get activated somehow. So contamination can happen, in a big time window, and that's part of what makes them good bioweapons. They're fairly untraceable, and they're also easy to get from the environment. I've been doing a retrospective here on the 2001 attacks, and a lot of statements have been made by doctors and microbiologists that it's easy to harvest anthrax if there is a natural outbreak in livestock population.